faithfully delivering value and interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally talking books. Today, the book we're interpreting for you is Obsessed, with the subtitle How to Love and Be Loved Normally. This is a book that teaches people not to be hurt by love and to return to a healthy emotional life. I wonder if you've ever seen this type of person. They always demand more love, commitment, and security from their partners, but never know how to give back. When their partners can't take the endless demands and finally leave, they resort to stalking, harassing calls, or even extreme acts like suicide or self harm to win them back. The book we're introducing today is written for these people who desperately seek love. The author, Susan Forward, gave them a common name, obsessed lovers, which is why the book is called Obsessed. Susan Forward is an internationally renowned psychotherapist and an expert in marriage, romantic relationships, and interpersonal dynamics. She has over 10 years of psychotherapy experience and is also a prolific writer. Many of her works, such as Emotional Blackmail and Family of Origin, have been translated into more than 15 languages. And the book, Obsessed, we're discussing today, originally titled Obsessive Love, is co-authored by Susan and media personality Craig Buck, and it's one of Susan's classic works. Um, Today, I'll interpret this book for you through 4 questions. First, how to identify an obsessed lover. Second, what creates an obsessed lover? Third, how is an obsessed love relationship formed? Fourth, how to overcome obsession. Let's start with the first question. How to identify an obsessed lover. Generally speaking, obsessed lovers have 3 common characteristics. The first characteristic is being constantly preoccupied with their lover or the person they want to be with. Um, for example, every day, whether eating or sleeping, they can't think of anything but their partner. They can't focus on work, and even when chatting with friends, every sentence revolves around their lover. The second characteristic of an obsessed lover is having an insatiable desire for the object of their obsession. For instance, they want their partner to be with them all the time, to guess all their little thoughts, and to act like a superhero solving any problems they encounter. The third characteristic is persisting in pursuing someone even after being clearly rejected, or behaving erratically after rejection. For example, some obsessed lovers keep sending 909 roses to the other's office daily and staking out their building even after being rejected, making the pursued person utterly harassed. Other severely obsessed lovers become deeply depressed after rejection, crying constantly at thoughts of the other person, unable to work or live normally, and may even impulsively harm the other party. If you have all 3 characteristics, you're very likely an obsessed lover. Moreover, even among obsessed lovers, the patterns of obsession aren't identical. There are, you know, 4 main types of obsessed lovers. The first type is crazy true love pursuers who chase feelings unilaterally, completely ignoring the other's reactions. For instance, the author had a client named Tang Tang who met his goddess while working part-time at a bookstore. In Tang's own words, she was the gentlest, most exquisite, most graceful woman he'd ever seen. But when he first expressed admiration, she clearly told him she was already married. Tang acted deaf, constantly inviting her for drinks, coffee, dinners, and even moved out of his bachelor apartment. He rented a 2-bedroom place, fantasizing about living with his goddess. No matter how clearly she stated she wouldn't divorce for him, nothing could stop Tang's obsessive romantic fantasies. The second type of obsessed lover is the emotional blackmailer. It's after a breakup, healthy lovers suffer but usually cope in constructive ways, like confiding in friends, having drinks with buddies, or, letting time heal the pain naturally. But obsessed lovers use extreme tactics when dumped. threatening suicide or self-harm, constant calling and harassment. This transfer of pain through negative actions is called catharsis in psychology. Sometimes this catharsis manifests as self-punishment. The author had a client named Nora who, after breakup, could only wait despondently by the phone, clinging to heartbreak's twin comforts, food and alcohol, to numb the pain. As a result, he ended up with stomach cramps. Unsurprisingly, this negative lifestyle worsened his emotional state. Another form of catharsis is more externalized, relentless pestering using every possible excuse. They want to meet the other person or use threats or beautiful pleas to beg for reconciliation. Whether self-punishment or pestering, the essence is emotional blackmail. My pain is your fault. You can't leave me. The third type of obsessed lover is the destroyer, those who can't have you, so they ruin you. Compared to the first two types, these lovers are less subtle and more aggressive. Having realized their obsession won't win the other person, they turn to destruction. Such lovers start with property damage and escalate to personal safety threats, like splashing paint on the other's car or keying it. One of Susan's clients kept her ex's key after breakup, went to his place, piled his clothes in the bathtub, and set them ablaze. The worst scenario: rejected lovers assaulting, raping, or even murdering when consumed by rage. The fourth type is the savior-obsessed lover, who feels compelled to rescue problematic partners. The worse their partner's situation, the deeper they sink into the relationship. If you constantly fix your partner's financial crises, health issues, emotional problems, or try to cure their addictions, you're likely a savior-type obsessed lover. The book cites Natalie's case. She met her current lover 2 years post-divorce. Carrie constantly had problems, unable to pay his apartment mortgage, planned to rent but tenants refused, losing money on sure investments, car breaking down with no repair funds after job loss. Clear signs he was unreliable. Though obviously mooching off Natalie, his pitiful helplessness always triggered her sympathy. Um, so she keeps helping Carrie solve various financial crises time and again, even though she's exhausted, but she just can't stop herself. So we've covered the first question of this book: how to identify an obsessed lover. We've explained it all for you. They're not only constantly preoccupied with the person they like, but also have an insatiable craving for the object of their obsession. Even after being clearly rejected, they persistently pursue the other person, even to the point of behaving abnormally. By now, you might be wondering, why can some people enter healthy relationships while others love so obsessively and painfully, becoming obsessed lovers? That brings us to the second question: what creates an obsessed lover? In romantic relationships, adults' behaviors are influenced by many factors. For instance, our basic personality traits are largely genetically determined. Chemical changes in the body can make people depressed or moody, and our emotional experiences during adolescence may also affect how we interact with partners in adulthood. The book's author, Susan, believes the most crucial influence comes from the family of origin. Obsessed lovers become excessively attached, mainly because they felt abandoned during childhood, separation from parents, especially their mother. This creates fear, causing them to carry abandonment fears into current romantic relationships. Simply put, separation is the process of becoming independent. At birth, we receive meticulous care from our mothers, meeting every need. Whether hungry or sleepy, mothers try their best to satisfy us. This makes babies feel fused with their mothers. How else could mom understand me so well? But as babies grow, self-awareness develops. They realize they and mom are separate individuals. Mom can't always meet demands, and they need independence. This marks the beginning of the separation process. The separation process is somewhat like learning to swim. Some children learn gradually under a coach's protection with floaties, adapting to water Others get pushed into deep water, they struggle, choke, an experience that's deeply uncomfortable and frightening. Similarly, during separation, some children explore the world with parental support until they feel secure, leading to smooth independence. Growing up, they feel secure knowing they're loved. But when separation is disrupted, children feel thrown unprepared into a cold world. This abandonment breeds intense fear and craving. As adults, they transfer childhood cravings onto partners, clinging desperately like life preservers. Three situations typically disrupt childhood separation. First, sudden parental loss through divorce or death of one or both parents. Children misinterpret divorce or death as abandonment, blaming themselves. Second, parental neglect. Ignored children, despite intact families, busy or sick parents, or new siblings divert attention, creating abandonment feelings. Third, parental invalidation. Some parents appear attentive but never praise due to high standards or fear of spoiling. Like a child constantly hearing, Xiao Qiang excels in English, learn from him. Classmate Xiaoming is great at math, be like him. Yet the child's strengths go unacknowledged. Parental invalidation can be as damaging as loss. Constant effort without affirmation makes children feel unloved and abandoned, spiraling from disappointment to believing they're unworthy. Of course, not all children with disrupted separation become obsessed lovers. As we mentioned earlier, many factors influence a person's romantic behavior. Moreover, everyone reacts differently to the same event, leading to varied outcomes. Take swimming as an example. For instance, when thrown into water, some kids start swimming quickly, while others develop lifelong hydrophobia. Yet, one can live without swimming, but not without love. Some children with disrupted separation grow up desperately seeking love, fueling obsession. We've covered the causes of obsession. Now we move to the third question. How does an obsessed love relationship form? Love requires two players. Without a target for the obsessed person, no relationship forms. Author Susan Forward calls the partner of an obsessed lover the co-obsessor. She believes while obsessed lovers bear primary responsibility, co-obsessors aren't blameless, they choose to endure. Two types of people easily become co-obsessors. First are those intensely craving love. They resemble obsessed lovers in this way. Obsessed lovers urgently seek partners to keep close. Co-obsessors equally crave love, so they instantly bond when meeting an obsessed lover. But soon, the obsessed lover's control suffocates the co-observer. Wanting to escape, co-obsessors face a dilemma. Addicted to the intense love, yet feeling trapped. The second type of co-observer is the indecisive person. While the first type questions whether to leave, these indecisive co-obsessors know they must leave but don't know how. Typically, when ending relationships, we soften the blow with indirect phrasing, like saying, maybe we're better as friends, or let's take a break. Most people understand this means the other person wants to end the relationship. But for an obsessed lover, realizing their partner wants to leave only intensifies their pursuit, like appearing more frequently, calling nonstop, or showing up dressed provocatively, making the partner question, why break up when they're so devoted? Thus, not only does the breakup fail, but guilt toward the obsessed lover grows. Another scenario, the partner emotionally collapses, threatening hysterics, self-harm, or suicide when hearing breakup. Out of concern, you find it hard to insist on ending things. But such wavering partners become prime targets for obsessed lovers, turning into co-obsessors. So obsessed lovers chase desperately for love and security, while co-obsessors, equally love-starved or indecisive, become willing participants. The perfect match. Thus, an obsessive relationship forms. Finally, our fourth question, how to overcome obsession. First step is keeping an obsession journal. For self-awareness, spend weeks documenting obsessive behaviors. When overwhelmed by intense emotions, fixated on your partner, record these moments. Don't record passing thoughts of your partner. Only log uncontrollable obsessive thoughts. Each entry must include date, time, and answers to 6 questions. First question: what triggered thoughts of your partner? Like a song, restaurant, or specific time of day that reminded you of them. Second question: what exactly did you think about? For example, how he kissed me while this song played, or when he first said, I love you at that restaurant. Third question: how did you feel? Objectively note emotions: happiness, anxiety, regret, fear, or shame. Fourth question: what did you want to do? When thinking of your partner, what actions did you feel compelled to take? By calling to ask what they're doing, wanting revenge, by, storming into their home, or getting wasted. Fifth question: what did I actually do? Relating to the previous question, while you might fantasize grand actions, reality might be devouring a McDonald's bucket while crying to music. Sixth question: what was the outcome? After all those thoughts and actions, what ultimately happened? Did you spam 20 calls, barge into their home, make yourself sick on fast food, or get hungover? Record these outcomes. After consistent journaling, you'll understand your obsessive patterns and recognize how extreme your actions became. Next, we enter step 2. Shut down the obsession system. Give your emotions a 2-week vacation. If cohabiting, move out or ask your partner to leave. Or take a real vacation. The only rule: no contact. What to do during these 2 weeks? First, control behaviors. Your journal reveals patterns. List them and consciously correct each. For example, if you harass via calls, stop immediately and give your phone to a friend for safekeeping. If resisting feels unbearable, seek help from friends or therapists to stop these behaviors. Beyond that, systematically plan activities for these 2 weeks, like hosting dinners, watching movies, or joining piano or painting classes. Ultimately, make your life fulfilling. This minimizes time spent obsessing over your partner. Moreover, build non-romantic life foundations, control behaviors, and obsessive thoughts. The simplest method: avoid all obsession triggers whenever possible. Remember the obsession journal we discussed earlier? The first question, what triggers thoughts of your partner, already helped you identify obsession triggers when answered. So now list those triggers and avoid them completely. For obsessed lovers, 2 weeks apart feels almost life-threatening. One of Susan's clients confessed, I'm terrified if I vacation, he'll be gone when I return. I can't bear that. Letting go of obsessive thoughts is excruciating, but essential for recovery. The author suggests allowing obsessive thoughts to roam freely during relaxed moments, like lunch breaks or before bed, for a while. But when time's up, consciously declare aloud, time's over, you need to leave. After 2 weeks, you'll notice shifts in thoughts and behaviors. On the last day of your emotional break, reassess the relationship. Distance brings objectivity to your evaluation. Some realize the relationship ended long ago, you just refuse to release it. Like, if they cut all contact, explicitly ended things, rarely respond to your initiations, or already date others. In such cases, convince yourself to let go. No more self-deception through avoidance. Write a farewell letter to your dead relationship. Read it aloud. Express all grief, anger, and frustration. This ritual strengthens resolve. It's not an end, but the true beginning of release. Other cases are better. You recognize harming your partner, but the relationship might heal. The break pauses, obsession, letting love grow healthily. You can agree with your partner to reassess your obsession status periodically, say every month, 3 months, or half a year, to see if it's improving. Your partner is the best judge of your state, so make sure to genuinely listen to their feelings and advice. After returning, you can continue using the methods we discussed earlier. Once you've completed shutting down the obsession system, move on to step 3, completely eliminating obsessive tendencies. As we mentioned before, someone's obsessive behavior in relationships stems from feeling abandoned during childhood separation. So, to truly say goodbye to obsession, You need to face the trauma from childhood rejection and reconcile with your parents. Author Susan suggests writing a letter to your parents about your childhood experiences and the pain they caused you. And what you can also write a letter to yourself to clarify, recognize, and address the feelings from your childhood trauma. This will also be a long and difficult process. And many people struggle to find opportunities to talk to their parents, or even when they do, they can't speak up. Even writing feels overwhelming. If your childhood hurt was too severe, you can't overcome it alone. I suggest finding a therapist to help you systematically say goodbye to that hurt inner child and fully overcome obsession. All right, that's the content of part 3. How to overcome obsession. We mainly introduced 3 steps. Step 1, keep an obsession journal. Step 2, give yourself an emotional break. Shut down the obsession system. Step 3, completely eliminate obsessive tendencies. All these methods target obsessed lovers. For co-obsessors, the author doesn't specify what they should do in the book. So, based on my counseling experience, if you find your partner is an obsessed lover, you must resolve to leave them. Although this process isn't easy for you, you might even have fallen for their intense way of pursuing love, but staying in such a relationship will only cause more harm, even irreparable damage, unless your partner is determined to change. All right, that concludes our discussion of obsessed. Let's briefly review. Obsessed lovers typically have 3 characteristics. First, being constantly preoccupied with their partner. Second, having an insatiable craving for their lover. Third, even after being rejected, they still relentlessly pursue the other person. Based on different patterns of obsession, they can generally be divided into 4 types: the crazy true love pursuer, the emotional blackmailer, the destroyer who ruins what they can't have, and the savior. The author believes that a person becomes an obsessed lover mainly because of issues during childhood separation from parents, leading them to desperately seek in their partner the warmth they didn't get from their parents. For obsessed lovers to overcome obsession, they need to go through 3 steps. Step 1, keep an obsession journal. Step 2, give yourself an emotional break to shut down the obsession system. Step 3, completely eliminate obsessive tendencies. All right, that concludes our discussion of obsessed. Reading notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.